Welcome everybody to the CCBA webinar series. And this webinar series is brought to you by ECMC and Bragg and Associates, and Dr. Deborah Bragg, our research affiliate. Today, we're really excited. One of the things that we often hear from our membership and people who are interested in community college baccalaureates is, what are the great new programs? What's new out there? How did you start them? What should I be looking at? What should I should be considering? And so today we're really excited that we've been able to pull together 4 people who have started really innovative programs, and they're going to tell you all the ins and outs and how they did it and why they did it. So why don't we get going? So I'd like to introduce you to our 4 panelists today. I've been president of CCBA for 5 years now, and it's been a great 5 years. And our first panelist is Carin. Carin, you want to tell us just a sentence or two about you?
Carin Burr from Clark State in Ohio, Springfield, Ohio. I'm professor of social services, and we created the Addictions and Integrated Treatment Studies bachelor's degree.
Really interested in hearing about that. I think it's going to be very interesting. All right, next, Dominique.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dominique Ingato, and I'm the department chair of the biotech department at MiraCosta College. And we have a bachelor's degree in biomanufacturing that I was hired to teach in 2019. So the degree was around for just a little bit before I got there, but I'm excited to share with you the process that we followed to create it.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Manny Perez. I proudly serve as the Dean of Engineering, Technology, and Design for Dade College, and I'm happy to share all of the work we did in launching our brand new Applied AI Baccalaureate degree program. So pleasure to be here.
There are a couple of other colleges that have shown a lot of interest in AI. And so I think this will be a really great discussion. So thank you. And last but not least, Derek.
Yes, hello, my name is Derek Rushing from Mesa Community College in Mesa, Arizona. I've formerly been program director for computer information systems and faculty lead for the Bachelor's of Applied Science of Data Analytics and Programming. Excited to be here today.
Thank you all for taking time out of your schedules. I know how busy you are, so we really appreciate this. You know, I wanted to point out one thing. CCBA is involved right in a quality project to identify what the big elements or components are of quality degrees. And one of the things that we heard so many times was the alignment with workforce. And so I don't know, audience, if you picked up on this, but Carin came out of the industry, Derek came out of industry, Dominique came out of industry, and Manny came out of industry. So I think that that's really important. And I think that says to the students, we have faculty who have been where you are trying to go, and therefore that curriculum is going to be relevant and what industry needs. So I think that that is very important for our work. So thank you for that. So Shell, if we can go back to the CCBA CCB growth page, I wanted to just point out a few things to folks. Well, one of the things that I want to point out is that in the last year, and Cheryl, please chime in here, we've grown from 145 community college baccalaureate degrees around the country to 100, and is it 171, Cheryl?
Yes, 171 as of yesterday.
As of yesterday, 171 different programs across the country. And these are the fields, these are the areas where growth has occurred, mostly in every single program area has seen growth. So I think that that's a tremendous opportunity that students are being availed upon. So I think that's really terrific, and just wanted to let the audience know that that they're growing and spreading, and more people have the opportunity. Okay, so why don't we then start, and we'll start with Carin. And Carin is a social science professor at Clark State. She's got a bachelor's degree in developmental psychology, but but what Carin is famous for is her degree in with a specialization in addictions and addictions treatment. And so, Carin, I'm wondering if you could start with the questions, and if you could tell us a little bit about your baccalaureate program and why you felt called to start this program.
Sure, thank you. I'm actually one of the first 5 or 6 people in the state of Ohio that was duly licensed in both addictions treatment and mental health treatment, clear back in 1995. I'm old and that's okay. But it's from that lens that teaching the students and knowing what's going on out in the field became really important. So, I don't know how many of you are aware, but back in 2016-17, Ohio was pretty much ground zero for the opioid crisis. We had the most overdose deaths, hospitalizations, and children entering the foster care system because of that epidemic. And at that time, in 2017, we had the numbers in Clark County, which is where our main campus is. We have 4 campuses around, and we serve about 7 different counties worth of students. But in the main county, in Clark County, there were what we call 365 beds and chairs, inpatient and outpatient, places for people to come and get treatment. That year alone in 2017, over 4,000 people asked for help. So it was very apparent that there wasn't what we needed. We got a nice boost at the end of 2017. However, when the U.S. Attorney General finally declared addiction a crisis in this country, so that opened up pots of money. And in Ohio, what that meant for us was more facilities were beginning to open and we were seeing more beds and chairs. However, there was a shortage of qualified people to be working in the facilities and doing the work that we needed. What we know is that 80% of the people who enter treatment, whether that's mental health side or addiction side first, actually 80% of them have what we call co-occurring disorders, where both mental health and addiction or substance use disorder issues are sitting together. And in the state of Ohio, only master's level people are licensed to diagnose and treat mental health issues, but associates and bachelor's level people are seeing these clients, working with these clients, doing the work. And we really felt the need to, and the agency shared with us the need for students to know both, workers in the field to understand both pieces. And so we created the first program in the state of Ohio, and that includes Ohio State University and UC. We're the first ones to create an actual co-occurring disorder program. So integrated treatment studies is kind of integrated treatment's kind of the hidden code word for mental health at the bachelor's level.
So you can see, I just want to point out, because we're going to see this with all the presenters, it was a creative response to the needs in that community, whether it's the community, the town, or the region of the state. And I think that that is really important, in that at community college baccalaureates, we're allowed to be creative in how that need is met. So thank you, Carin. Manny, do you want to talk about how, tell us why your baccalaureate program was established? Very different than Carin's.
Yes, it was. And it'll be my pleasure. So one of the approaches we had, we knew Miami was quickly becoming the next technology epicenter for the nation. And with that comes the need for tech talent locally. And so one of the things that we did was we engaged a series of conversations. We looked at what the companies, we had a series of companies moving down to Miami to really, relocate during the pandemic. It may have to do with our state being a tax-free state, and there were some other benefits that were that they were trying to take advantage of. But we saw this growth happen here in Florida quickly. And one of the things that we want to do at the college is make sure that we provide our students with the ability to take advantage of those tech jobs and strengthen that talent pipeline. And so what we did was we engaged in a series of discovery and investigation around the jobs. And we know that AI, obviously all of us here know that AI was in the boom, and we're seeing that boom here in Miami as well. When we're looking at the job growth nationally, it's they're expecting 513,000 new jobs by 2029, and the spending around AI obviously is increasing as well, in the hundreds of billions of dollars, between now and 2029. So there's a need there, not only locally but nationally. And that's why we engaged in creating this baccalaureate degree to really help our students and help the community. We wanted to make sure that the talent was grown and stayed here in Miami, and to provide that economic opportunity for our community. One of the things,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
so sorry. No, go ahead, Angela. No worries.
I was just going to say, you heard it again, you know, a need and the ability to respond. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, no, it's fine. That's exactly what I was going to say is, you know, establishing that full pathway. So we not only created that baccalaureate degree, but we also created the certificate, the associate. So it provides our community with that full pathway of you know, education. So
He said one of the magic words, pathways.
yes.
Dominique, your program, again,
Of
very
course.
different, but
Yeah, so we're located, MiraCosta College is located in San Diego County, and San Diego is one of the big epicenters for the biotech industry. It's just been booming and growing. My department had already offered certificates and associate's degrees in biotech with different focuses on research and development or biomanufacturing. But we knew that there was just this growing need for more people coming out with bachelor's degrees, and the industry had the greatest need for people holding those bachelor's degrees. But in particular, the manufacturing side of the industry was having trouble recruiting and retaining people with those degrees. So in 2014, the California legislation opened it up that schools could start applying to offer bachelor's degrees in California at the community college level. And at that point, we realized that this would be a great opportunity to start sort of fill this niche that came up. So our current dean, who at that time was faculty, applied to offer a biomanufacturing bachelor's degree program. It was a very quick turnaround time. You needed to submit the application within 3 months of the call being put out. But luckily, we had already had great connections with the industry. It was very supported because they knew that this was something that was highly needed. And we also knew that our student population really needed this. The cost of transferring to a four-year institution was extremely high, but our students wanted to be able to get these bachelor's degrees and find a spot in the industry. The one other thing I should mention is that in California, when it was opened up that community colleges could apply for these opportunities, you needed to submit a very unique bachelor's degree. So it couldn't be something that was already offered at a Cal State or UC. It had to be a completely different degree. So we couldn't offer a bachelor's degree in biotechnology. So we needed to really narrow that down and figure out what aspect of the industry could we focus on that wasn't currently being met. And again, that was the manufacturing side of things, which is why our degree is in biomanufacturing. So yeah, again, just in summary, it was to meet the needs of the industry, but then also to meet the needs of the students who, for financial reasons or location reasons, can't always transfer.
We heard all the magic words for community college baccalaureates with Dominique. And so now, Derek, why don't you talk about your program? Thank you, Dominique.
Yes, thank you. First and foremost, let me say it is and always should be about students. Here at Mesa Community College, we are very connected to our community, and the lifeblood of what we do really centers around those students and meeting the needs of our community, giving them affordable opportunities to increase their knowledge and opportunities, if you will, that begin to stretch them and allow them to be contributors here. So Arizona has really a historical background, if you will, of being great for technology. Here we've got some of the most successful tech companies and suppliers in the world. So it's a natural progression to engage in meeting the needs of, you know, the diverse students in the region. We're in an emerging technology corridor. There's always new players coming in. The state is an attractive place for technology. And so it fits well that we align programs and certificates, degrees with what technology wants, technological groups want, and what students need. So there's a continued, if you will, forecasted shortage of technology people here, particularly in the fields of data analytics. The good news is our current students and some former students can continue to be Thunderbirds. Legislation SB 1543 was first introduced in January of 2021 and passed and signed by our former governor in May of 2021. It was a very quick time frame where many people in our district needed to get to work to begin to put together an offering that would make sense. At Mesa Community College, we have a CCL in analytics. An AAS, believe it or not, is following, but the bachelor's is what has been completed now. We have the same types of rules. The degree had to be an in-demand area. We could not surpass for year one and year two a certain percentage of the degrees awarded. What we've done was not meant to compete with the Arizona universities. And so I guess the bottom line is time and time again, we hear from students and all kinds of heartwarming stories of learners. They thought they were at the end. They thought they had no way to continue for financial reasons, etc. Some of them had even given up, and it'll get you right here if you hear some of those heartwarming stories. But the good news is many of those students have returned, and this is our first semester offering the degree. We're presently got full classes and a very invigorated, if you will, environment. So it's a little bit different in that you don't often hear about a combination of data analytics and programming. And we thought, as we researched, about 15 colleges, 14 programs nationally, what they were doing, how we could align the needs of what industry wanted, what students wanted, with what were best practices across the country, synthesizing data, analyzing it, visualizing it, making it relative such that out of the stack of data, a leadership in a corporation can get some relevancy and understanding in terms of what all of these bits and bytes mean. So our students will get classes in the foundations of data analytics and programming, data governance, SQL Server, MySQL Server, visualization tools like Tableau and Power BI, no SQL databases, predictive and descriptive analytics, data privacy, the things that people care about, data integrity. All data should be a single source of truth and should have some veracity to it. And it's great that you can be technical, but if you can't explain the deep stuff to management, they don't get it. So our learners actually have to go through presenting data analytics for results. And what is rather unique, we have a capstone course and an internship component that we are building with industry so that students can get that piece before they're out in the marketplace. So we're very excited, and that's a little bit about our data analytics and programming bachelor's degree.
As I'm listening to our four presenters today, I'm thinking this is a textbook that could be written on community college baccalaureates. I mean, each of you are hitting all of the highlights and the needs. So it's really fantastic. Dominique, we're going to talk a little bit now. We're going to switch a little bit and talk about who the industry partners were that you worked with, because you've all mentioned that. You're all mentioned aligning with industry needs. So Dominique, who are the partners that you worked with? And did you have relationships with them prior to this degree?
Yeah, that's a great question. So like I said, we already had our certificate and associate's degrees up and running, and we did have a relationship with Genentech, which I believe was it was the IDEX site at the time that later became Genentech. But Genentech was really the major partner in helping to establish the biomanufacturing bachelor's degree. Again, this was before my time at MiraCosta, but our dean, our current dean, worked very closely with them. They actually funded his faculty position and allowed him to spend time being able to develop the degree by meeting with subject matter experts at the company, providing lots of volunteer time in terms of developing plans for the building and how to set up the lab best to teach biomanufacturing. They helped to develop curriculum. They helped us to advertise the program. They were just our real major supporters in the early stages of this. And then as the program, grew and moved forward, we've increased the number of partners we're working with, and we work with a large number of both big companies, small companies, startups in the area. And we've even brought in faculty to teach from those companies. So, one of the other full-time faculties in the department came out of Genentech. One of the faculty who created a majority of the curriculum came out of Illumina. So having the industry partnerships is just so incredibly crucial. So I highly encourage anyone who's in this process to make sure they're reaching out and establishing that and seeing how they can make those connections early on.
Thank you, Dominique. You're right. That is really critical. That's the difference between a successful, sustainable program and one that is not going to be that successful. Carin, what are the industry partners that you worked with, especially considering that this was a different kind of degree than what maybe your folks in industry were used to seeing out of a college? Carin?
Yeah, I'm sorry. We have had a social work technology associate's degree in the industry and in the field for some time. And one of the things that made it unique, that kind of allowed us the freedom to move on with our uniqueness, I guess, was that we were the only ones to kind of cross-train on the associate's level in both social work, addictions, and mental health at the associate's level. We had practicums come out of that, where we had agency partners that we developed. I'm going to save the conversation a little bit about the new associate's degree we built first before the bachelor's degree when we get to curriculum talking a little bit. But from the original associate's degree, we began to build partners. And then I went out kind of door to door talking to the agencies in the area, talked to over 20 agency directors, sat down and said, this is what we're going to do. This is what our students are going to know. This is kind of skill-based they're going to have. How can you use that? What does that look like? What else do you need? And really had those conversations. Kind of took a whole summer to just really have those conversations and talk about and get them excited about. And we ended up doing 30 hours a week practicums to get them to their licensure level before graduation, which again is different than any other kind of program had. But it was really about going out there in the personal touch and what do you need, and letting them know that we were willing to fill that need, to be creative and to find ways to create programming and create the courses and things like that that were really going to help them. Because most of these directors also carry a caseload anymore. It's not like they sit in their ivory tower and just get to direct traffic. They themselves have, and they don't have time to train the new workers like they used to have. It used to be kind of a pipeline where it was a lot of on-the-job training. But if the students don't really know some of the basic skills, how to hit the ground running, then they actually take up more time from these supervisors' caseload in their time than they are helpful. So it was about letting them know the kind of skill base they were going to have when they hit the ground.
Carin, can you name a couple of the industries that you talked with, a couple of the companies that you spoke with?
Some of our major partners are McKinley Hall, which is in Clark County, TCN, the Community Network, which operates in Logan and Greene counties, Safe Harbor House, Brightview, 115, Woodhaven, Cornerstone. There's a whole list. We just, went and talked and said, what are the conversations?
So did you deal with hospitals as well?
We also have a peer support program, which I was going to build into the other. We landed the grant in the state of Ohio, $900,000 to build a peer support program. And kind of that's the beginning of our pipeline. And it's the peer supporters who are beginning to show up in emergency rooms and places like that. Some of the agencies like 115 and Woodhaven and so forth are represented by things like Samaritan Behavioral Health Services, which owns hospitals, Premier Health Services, Kettering Health Services. So they're the behavioral health service sections of the larger hospitals and corporations.
Good. Manny, how about you? Thank you, Carin. Which industries were you working with? And if you can name them, that's great.
Yeah. So one of the things that we did.
Get
it. No problem. So one of the things that we did when we launched and we began to design the program, we looked at it holistically. We looked at what is it that we need, who is it that we need to bring to the table to really create this program. And one of the things we did was we came up with, we adopted a model called the BUILT model, and it's Business Industry Leadership Team. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but really it's like, I like to call it the advisory board, but on steroids, right? And so what we do is we invite members to participate in a committee in this team with the goal of co-creating curriculum. So it's no longer, traditionally we would be, the advisory board would just, review what's created. We didn't want the review. We wanted to co-create. We wanted their buy-in in the process, because we knew that if we get them to buy into this curriculum and create this curriculum, that ultimately they would be the ones employing our students. And so we took that approach and we reached out both locally and nationally. We worked with, companies, I'll name them, like Microsoft, Intel, Amazon, all the big corporations. But the other thing we really reached out was locally, even to our local government, right? So we partnered with the city, with the county, and they were able they were really interested in what we were doing. And so we were able to secure some funding through them via grants. And so we started to build this ecosystem around this program that we were building, because we understood that at some point we're going to need, there was going to be an engagement with these entities, right? We also partnered with our universities, local universities here and other universities. We reached out to MiraCosta, who was working with Intel, and they were doing some curriculum around their AI. We also reached out to University of Florida, our flagship institution here at Florida. They have an AI master's. Yep, the Gators. And so we worked with them. We actually were able to get a grant, and so we really wanted to do this collectively. And even at the submission process, we partnered with Hillsborough Community College. So there's been we've been partnering from day one, and it's something we wanted to do, especially when we're building. Our program is not a traditional AI program, right? It's not the ones that we knew that I studied, right, which was computer science and math. This is more of the application of AI. We understand that in the future, everybody's going to need to know, what are those AI tools? How do I apply AI? Despite the industry that I'm in, we know the impact that AI is going to have. And that's really been the focus of this program, is really, educating our students and the community on the impact of AI. And so we call it AI for All. We partnered actually with that organization as well. It's called AI for All. So we've really looked at this holistically, right? And you have to, when you're building the first, AI baccalaureate degree program in the state, and then, I think we were second in the nation. And so, especially when you're on that cutting edge of technology, where, it's growing at the same time that you're building.
Good. So we keep hearing all the magic words, and we're going to let Derek, if you tell us which industries you partnered with. Thank you, Manny. I appreciate that.
Sure. Thank you. At Mesa, partnership is one of our hallmarks. And with respect to this degree, there were formal and informal relationships built. With respect to universities, either formal or informal, there were people involved from Grand Canyon University and from ASU right here in the backyard. And so we learned a lot from some of those sessions, some very productive and not adversarial at all relationships and communications happened as we were building the degree. From the corporations, we were partnered with companies from the financial sector, the manufacturing sectors, the services sector, formally and or informally with Intel, TSMC, Pega, and others. From the standpoint of small businesses, there's many needs out there, and they're very excited about the opportunities that folks with this degree would be able to contribute in their environments. And even though we're talking about industry, we can't forget government, local, state, and otherwise. And so certainly we're right in Mesa. And so MCC has a vibrant relationship with the city of Mesa. And there's relationships with the city of Phoenix. At the state level, there's relationships with juvenile corrections, Department of State, etc. All of these folks have IT, and all of them need people who can participate in their environments in a meaningful way. Of course, partnership, it's one thing to look outside, but we can also look inside. We're one of 10 colleges in this system. And so there's a lot of things that can be gleaned from what people have seen that maybe we have not. So working with representatives from our different colleges, and we've got something called MITI, the Maricopa Information Technology Institute, particularly East Valley. And this institute provides delivery training options for employers, curriculum that has been recognized through the community and industry, employment opportunities, certifications, training, skill development. So MITI was huge for us. And that's part of the MCC and certainly the Maricopa family as a resource, which is deeply connected in industry. Our process was one, if you will, with respect to being successful. We had the support of administration at all levels, instructional and advisory councils, individuals from businesses who participated on those, advisory people who had seen things that maybe we had not seen. And from the very start, we certainly heard from our other partners, which are the learners, who are very interested, and they let us know what they were interested in from the start. So a lot of information sharing and hearing sessions internally and externally. And so we're excited to have touched much industry, government, et cetera.
Thank you. So you can see that we need t-shirts, CCB's It Takes a Village, right? Because you all did, you know, a 360-degree partnership. And look, what about K-12? Did any of you work with K-12, Manny? I see you shaking your head there.
Yeah, we have an excellent partnership with our Miami-Dade County Public Schools. We have the program that we designed. Remember, we created the whole pathway, certificate, associates, and bachelors. We wanted to make sure that it was dual enrollment ready for our high school students. We've also partnered with them. I sit on their STEM board. And so we're looking at aligning curriculum as well. So students who come out of high school and have that experience in terms of AI, that they can, you know, seamlessly transition into our AI program, that it's not such a big gap. And so obviously early exposure, we do summer camps. We hosted summer camps this summer. We had 3 summer camps for artificial intelligence, and they were all, as you can imagine, full of high school students. And so we use that to not only promote the AI, you know, awareness in high school, but also establish those dual enrollment pipelines, right, for our students, so that they understand, hey, if you had a great time at this summer camp, you want to learn more about AI, go ahead and enroll in our dual enrollment program, right, for AI. And so it puts them on that path. It's important. They're doing a lot of CTE work in high schools here in Miami. And so it's important that we align and we have that relationship with them.
Angela, may I add something?
Absolutely.
It just so happens for 7 years, I taught on Saturdays with ACE and REACH, our program that involves high school juniors and seniors. And it was a very interesting experience. But Mesa has strong connections and dual enrollment, if you will, relationships for the districts around. And so I would imagine that going forward, we would really kind of connect and look at the program and evaluate what dual enrollment type opportunities might exist. But there's a lot there at that level, and they're very interested. As you know, my own children graduated with their associate's degrees before they walked across the high school stage. And so we have a lot of students doing that very same thing.
I want to switch in a little bit and just ask folks, one of the things we were going to talk about gaining state approval, but I want to ask about recruiting faculty. How was it to recruit faculty? Did you have to employ any different strategies to recruit faculty, particularly in the IT area, where, and even biotech or biomanufacturing, excuse me, maybe addictions, where they're making a lot more money out in the field than they might be at your college? So can you talk a little bit about recruiting faculty, Dominique, since you were the one who was recruited?
Definitely, yeah. So I did chat with my dean about this before, because I was one who was recruited. So right now we have 3 full-time faculty in the department, but we also have a lot of associate faculty who are teaching part-time. And in terms of recruiting, what I would say is some of the people who we were I don't want to say poaching from industry, but people who were trying to get interested in teaching from industry, we gave them opportunities to teach part-time. And so, for example, one of our full-time faculty from Genentech was teaching part-time and teaching his class on the design of facilities, realized how much he enjoyed teaching and decided to apply for the full-time role. So I think just making this opportunity available, advertising it to our partners, seeing who wants to teach part-time and then who's a good fit. The other full-time faculty, so myself and Barbara Hunkosa, even though we both have a bit of industry experience, we had most recently come out of academia. So again, we had both known that we had wanted to go into teaching and not do industry full-time. But in terms of getting those associate faculty with the experience and, those people who are right there in the industry and can bring that to the students, really just, connecting with our partners, making those opportunities known, finding those people who have the exact fit that is needed for the class. So for example, we offer a supply chain class, which none of the full-time faculty have expertise in, but we were able to find one of our industry partners who is an expert in that and enjoys teaching that every other semester for us. So I think just being flexible in that and knowing sometimes you can bring in people through the associate or adjunct route as well.
Carin, how about you? Thank you, Dominique.
Yes.
How was that for you all?
Yes. So at Mesa, we have always had strong relationships with technology professionals. We have a very, very strong relationship with people who have been teaching for us who are adjunct and by night or online, and they're professionals in the workplace by day, and they're the top in their professions. And so some of those folks have been tapped based upon their credentials to help in the program. There's been a bit of augmentation with those that are teaching. I'm actually pursuing my doctorate in data analytics as well. And so really when we were putting the framework together, we really looked at everything that we thought people would need to have to be able to successfully teach in that program. So bachelor's, master's are basically what we look at. Industry experience, what do the folks do every day? And so those are the kind of people that are participating in the program now. We've done advertising at local and regional levels. Even some former students who are the top, even regionally and globally in their companies who are contributing even today. So really getting the message out, and we're part of STEM groups, etc. It's all about relationships. And so I'm not saying it's been without challenge, but the bottom line is we've been successful, and we have the support of administration in making it so.
Thank you. So I just got a little reminder that we're at the halfway mark. And I'm not halfway through the questions. So I'm going to kind of skip around a little bit, but unless some of you had, Manny and Carin, if you had any other experiences with recruiting faculty that differ or that offered a unique strategy, if not, then we'll skip to the next question. What do you think?
Yeah, I just want to add one thing. Oh, I'm sorry, Carin, go ahead.
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. So I'll just add one thing. I think the benefit of us having that built model that I was talking about earlier really brings in those industry experts into the curriculum process. So when we're developing these courses, they're like, oh, wow, I would love to teach this class, right? And so it opens up those opportunities for us to be able to recruit them as faculty. I think the other thing we did was we partnered with our local institutions and universities and graduate programs to really look at that talent and really pull them in. I know when you say Miami, a lot of people want to move in here, but the reality is that we have a high cost of living, right? Among the highest in the nation, and so we really have to inform these candidates of the benefits that we have, right? So if they're interested in doing their doctorate program, we have a tuition reimbursement. We can help you with that. So there's other opportunities, other benefits that offset the cost for them. And it's important that we share that information with them as we recruit them.
Thank you, Manny. Carin, we're going to switch it up on you. And just, if you could tell us what's unique about the way you have designed your curriculum, that would be helpful, I think, to folks. Manny, thank you.
Well, in the process of getting approval, first of all, we got turned down in 2018. And I think the Department of Higher Education decided that we weren't going to be able to have we weren't going to be able to sustain students in the program. I think the old thinking that the only people who want to do this kind of work are people who themselves are in recovery. Truth is, over 65% of the student body that we have are people who are not themselves in recovery. A lot of them are family members, loved ones come from it, want to study the disease. There's a lot of people. We have currently, I believe it's 74 in the pipeline in just the second year right now. So we started out, so when we got turned down in 2018, went back to the drawing board. In 2019, we were lucky enough to land a grant for the peer support. So we went, okay, let's start the whole thing from the beginning. So peer support is 8 weeks worth of training, or we do it in 8 weeks. The state was doing it at 40 hours in 1 week. Nobody retains anything doing that. So we created an 8-week curriculum. It's very popular. It's known across the state. A lot of people come and do with us. Then from there, we did another track of the associate's degree. We veered from the social work track and went to the addictions and recovery track. So, and one of the things that helped us in that advantage was because we were cross training in that social work technology track, the 3 addictions courses that came with me in the addictions and recovery track were already in the curriculum. So what happened was, so was the diversity course and a couple other things we created. So we didn't have to do a full, let's say, the process with the associate's degree. It became that shorter process of kind of approving a tract as opposed to approving a whole new program. It was a variation on a theme because over 45% of the coursework was the same. So it turned out to be an easier way to create that first 2 years of what became the first 2 years of curriculum for the bachelor's degree. So once we created that, and by 2021, when we went back to the table and put the bachelor's back on the table, we were able to show the pipeline of the associate's degree gaining tract, and at that point having more than 50 students already in that tract. And so I think that was the thing that kind of threw it over the edge and decided to. And so what we did in the curriculum for the bachelor's degree, the thing that makes it, we're not a social work program, we're a clinical program. It's clinical treatment in addictions and mental health. And so the clinical courses become really important. We're not doing the systems theory things and the case management stuff like social workers do. That's their niche. We're doing the clinical work. So, you know, the one-on-one counseling, the group counseling, the family counseling, the psychoeducational pieces, and the 3rd and 4th year are advanced courses in the first 2-year kind of curriculum. So we're getting them better at what they're doing because we get the advantage of being skill-based. So we don't have to have all the theory stuff. We don't have to have all the, I mean, there's theory and history and some built into some of the classes, but we don't have to spend a whole course on the theory of this or that. You know, I looked around at 20 other social work programs in the state of Ohio, and they all had one addictions course and no mental health courses. And these are the people that they want to go out and do the work, and they're not trained to do the clinical side of the work. So we built a clinical program. And that's what we, and the skill base and the partners that we have are just so excited about what the students already know once they get out there and how they're learning as they're working in the field. 80% of my 4th year students are already hired in the field, and they're already moving up in the programs.
So that sounds really fascinating and really a nice, unique way of doing that. I applaud that. Manny and Derek and Dominique, I want to ask you a question. Community college baccalaureates, we've been promising through these degrees that non-traditional, racially minoritized students are going to have these opportunities to get into these high skill, high wage fields. So how are you ensuring that your admissions is equitable, that your outcomes are equitable? How do you ensure that, or how do you work towards that? Dominique, do you want to start?
Yeah, so
biomanufacturing is unique in so many different ways, but how are you working towards that?
Yeah, so I can tell you that, you know, as you know, as a community college, MiraCosta is open access for our lower division courses. Once students are in our courses and at the associate's degree level, or even, you know, as we're doing outreach, we're doing our best to make sure that we're doing that equitably, and we're trying to make sure that we're outreaching to the, those local high schools that have the diverse populations that we're trying to target, and to our local community as well. We run workshops to bring people in so that they know what is biomanufacturing, so that they can, make that informed decision, and that we can reach those different populations that we're trying to reach. In terms of actually applying to be in our bachelor's degree program, we do have a rubric that we look at, and that includes an opportunity for that applicant to write a personal statement talking about life experiences, special circumstances, disabilities, family circumstances, whether or not they're first generation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so we are trying to take this into account as we're accepting students. I will say, since we're a relatively new program, that we have been able to accept all qualified applicants so far. So we have not had to go down the route of, weeding through the personal statements yet, but we hope that that will help us with equitable admissions when the time comes. And I will say that, we are reaching the students that we do really want to reach. We have a diverse group of students coming into the program and graduating from the program. More than 50% are female, 80% are economically disadvantaged, 30% are first generation. So we are really, accessing and reaching those students who are going to benefit greatly from being in this program.
Thank you, Dominique. Manny, how about you?
Yeah, so we're lucky, right? We live in such a diverse, we operate in Miami, which is so diverse, and we have, I think it's 174 nations represented throughout our student body. And so, and we graduate, the most associate's degree within minorities. And so it's built into our DNA at the college. We have an open door policy for our baccalaureate degree program, as long as they meet the minimum educational requirements, which have to do with, some prerequisites, courses, and having completed their associates, they can come into our baccalaureate degree. I think when we look at what are the efforts that we're undertaking, we like to partner with our entities, with our outside entities, and creating some of these opportunities. The biggest challenge that most of our students face is tuition and cost. And so we've been very proud of not having raised tuition for multiple years now. We haven't raised our tuition. And so we know that the community that we serve, that's very valuable to them. And so we have partnerships with other entities where we're able to secure dollars for our students to cover the cost of tuition, and really make an impact.
Is this a $10,000 degree that Florida is semi-famous for?
Yeah. So we try to operate within that boundaries. We have a partnership with FPL, for instance, and we around our students, and making sure. We also launch our Rising Scholars program, which is available to every student in Miami-Dade County. They're able to apply and get in. It's a great opportunity for them to get an education for free. So we're constantly looking, constantly pushing those boundaries. We understand that the type of student that we get is not the traditional student who's going to go to a university. We have an open door policy, and so we accept any and all students. Our motto is opportunity changes everything, and so that's something that, like I said, is embedded into the fabric of what we do at this institution.
Thank you, Manny. Derek, how about you? Is your baccalaureate degree an open access degree, or how do you do that?
Our baccalaureate degree is available for those, and again, this is within college guidelines, open to those, who qualify. The mere nature of our community, which is a diverse one, Title I schools all around. Many of the students that are with us for more than one reason, and economics and finance is one of those. For those learners students who would qualify, they are certainly welcome to apply. Right now, we do not have an order, if you will, of who's in and who's out based upon some elimination process. It's open to those who can apply and meet the requirements, if you will. Right now, we've got many of those first-time learners, if you will, so excited to be able to start making a difference for themselves and their families. But we also have transfer students and people who have bachelor's and master's already. So there's a bit of economic difference in terms of who we see here. I mentioned something about dual enrollment, some of the people that we see through some of our other programs, but we also have a community that is diverse and has a Native American population, obviously, and is a Hispanic serving, if you will, institution. And let's not forget 9/11 was yesterday. Our veterans, we make, if you will, basically communication with them so that we let them know we want them to be a part of who we are. Lastly, we are sensitive to cost. We're cost aware of what students have in the way of their time and resource utilization. And we're really just, seeking to meet the needs of those communities without being a blocker.
Carin, what about your program? How are you ensuring equitable access to your program?
Well, we are, when everybody else goes to the high schools to talk about their programs and stuff, that's not our student population typically. We are not traditional student. This is typically a pathway that people seek a little bit later on in their adulthood. Our average age is 25 to 35. Have a lot of students in here who are in their 50s and a couple who are almost my age. And it's really, it's about having the calling to do the kind of work that we do. And I think, you have to kind of hear that. And when people believe maybe that that's the kind of work they want to be doing in their life, and we create the pathways, I think, that are easy enough, and a lot of support, a lot of student support, a lot of tech support. And we make sure that they get involved with TRIO programs and stuff, which are those, the students, first time students, and just create kind of communities with them. My students are really great about creating their community and sticking together and calling each other up if somebody isn't in class, and really encouraging and creating those communities. And so I think that diversity just kind of speaks to the kind of work that we do.
So you have a diverse group of students. Your students are diverse and match your
in race and age and socioeconomic status, and yes, across the board.
Thank you. So I know we're ending here, and our buddy Shelley keeps saying 4 minutes, 5 minutes, but I have a couple more questions. So does the panel. So let me ask you about outcomes. How have your outcomes been? Manny, just quickly, you want to just talk a minute about your outcomes, and we can move to the others?
Yeah, sure. So obviously we measure our outcomes. We have various outcomes when you launch a program like this, right? One of them is enrollment, retention, completion, and workforce placement, right? Given that we're just launching in the fall, we're looking at enrollment. And we've had an amazing enrollment. Our classes are we have about 200 students already enrolled on the path to this bachelor's, which is incredible. And I think one of the things that we're looking at is, what does that experience look like for our students in terms of retention? And so we want to make sure that we already started working with our industry partners, right? And to bring in, have them speak about what they can expect to see when they get out into the workforce. What does the field look like, right? And so having that workforce component is very important for us. And so one of the things we're doing is we're building in our career readiness into the program itself. So as the students progress through the program, they're building their LinkedIn, they're doing their resume writing, so we're prepping them along the way. And it's something that we want to make sure that they're ready to be placed into that talent pipeline. And so we're partnering with local entities as well. We have a tech hire event that we host annually that we want to make sure these students are ready. And so it really for us is starts with enrollment, right? And then we start looking at what that experience is, right? What does that experience look like for our students throughout the program, other than just coming to class and learning the material inside the class? We understand that learning also takes place outside. And so one of our outcomes are, can we place students in internships? Can we bring in visiting faculty, to talk to them on certain topics? What does that learning outside of the classroom look like?
Thank you, Manny. Dominique, what about your outcomes? How are they?
We're extremely happy with our outcomes. So over 90% of our graduates are employed. Like I said, Genentech is a big supporter. We have many students go over there. They're at Thermo Fisher, Millipore Sigma, smaller companies. They're in different areas of the industry as well. So we have some who are in traditional biomanufacturing, others go into QC, some go into the marketing side, some go on to graduate school, and we've had a number go on to get their master's degrees as well. And a big part of this that I do want to just quickly mention is because we do have a dedicated student success specialist to our program, which is, I think, rather unique. And this started off as a part-time role that we were able to fund through our department. The student success specialist whole role is to check in with the students, make sure they're staying on track, help them communicate with faculty, make sure their needs are being met. And we recently were able to get this approved as a full-time role. So we're very happy with our outcomes, and we're very lucky to have this position at our school.
Thank you, Dominique. And that brings up, we do those promising practices. This will be our second year, and almost half of them came or put forward the practice of having like a student navigator or a coach, and that seems to be one of the things that we see in successful programs. Derek, now I know your program hasn't started, but what are the things you're going to be looking at to measure?
Well, actually, it has started this fall. This fall, we actually have students, record numbers that are in classes right now. And so, we have program and degree outcomes based upon the inputs and outcomes, the inputs, outputs, we, put those outcomes together. And we have those, and we really expect to drive toward that. So even though it's all new, we do have the expectations of things that we can glean through the matriculation of students, if you will, as they begin, to walk through those classes, and we assess them, and we look at surveys, and we able to look at their projects, ultimately getting out to what it's all about, seeing the students graduate and looking at those ratios and rates, retention as they move through, gleaning what we can from the internships and what employers tell us they're getting us. And interestingly enough, we have the internship placed in the past before the last semester. So that's very interesting, because if a student may have to take it again, but we want to know that they can actually do the work before they get out. And so that turns into, being able to partner with those employers and actually seeing the learners get hired and get those jobs and tracking that. It'll be nice to see what happens in a couple of years, but I think we might be interested even beyond that. How did they do in the workplace 3 years? What are they using? What's the applicability of that? And certainly through, those outcomes, have been driven by, supportive administration, president, vice president, deans. I think I even see Dean Michael Voss here, who's been a champion from the start. So we're very excited that this student becomes a learner who becomes a professional. And so we'll be tracking those things, I would imagine, as we move through time.
I think it's interesting, and we've heard this before from others, to identify what are the things you're going to be measuring in your program. So I think that that's interesting. You don't do a program and then decide you're going to measure something. You're going to be very intentional about the things you're trying to accomplish and set up systems to measure. All right, we're going to do a lightning round.
Okay.
Tell me, here's the question. You're going to tell me 2 things that you think make your program high quality. Okay, 2 things quickly, because Shelley is already telling me we're out of time. So Carin, what are the 2 things that you think make your program, or will make your program, a high quality program?
The amount of practicum work that allows them to get their licensure before they graduate, and the skill-based classes that we do.
Nice. Okay, Dominique, what are the 2 things? And you can say you.
I was going to say the focus on our hands-on learning with our labs and our high quality equipment that is matching what the industry is using, as well as our real focus on support for the students, like I said, with the student success specialists and all the other supports we offer.
Thank you. And Manny, how about you?
Yeah, so I would say definitely our industry partners make it unique in terms of the curriculum design, and so we know that our curriculum is state of the art, just like the stuff they're doing. And I think also our faculty. I think our faculty are excellent faculty. They're experts in their field, and so they really care about our students, and they really know how to deliver that instruction. And so those are the 2 biggest things that you can take away from our program.
Nice. And Derek, the 2 things that are making your program high quality?
It will be partnerships within our system, partnerships externally from our system, from those companies that some of which I've mentioned in the various domains and sectors, our administration, all of that is partnership, and then our faculty who care about what they do and are here because we feel we can make a difference.
Very nice. So I'm going to try to play that back to make sure that we all heard you correctly. So I heard partnerships with industry, one thing, that the content is applicable and and you have ways to practice that and apply it in your classrooms and in your labs, and then you give them opportunities to take that out into the field. I heard faculty who have a heart for community college students and this opportunity that your students are getting. And support from administration, your support services, your wraparound support services that feature this navigator coach kind of person. What did I forget? Your partnerships, your industry, your administrative support, I think we got everything. Did we get everything? Yeah. Oh, I think what's important is your assessment, because you all talked about the things, the outcomes you were going to be measuring, and those were really important. And then also a focus that you had on equitable admissions, completions, outcomes. I think those are the things I think that set you all apart from maybe other traditional degrees that might be out there at maybe universities or so. So did I get all of that right? Yeah. Okay, so that comes to the end. Like, it's 2:33, but I think we could spend half a day at least with each and every one of you, because you bring to the table, so much expertise and knowledge, and I think a lot of what other folks are interested in hearing about. Dominique, you've been doing this for a while, and we've seen some of your successful students, so we know what you're doing. And Manny, we've been waiting for an AI degree. We know the kind of reputation that the largest community college in the world has. So, and I love opportunity changes everything. And Derek, I'm really excited about your degree. I think it's unique and really needed. Both of those skill sets are really needed, the data analytics and the programming, or what your industry is looking for. And Carin, unfortunately, we really need what you're doing, and that needs to be really across. So thank you all for your time. I look forward to seeing you again in the near future and talking with you. And please, when you have successes, call me. I love to hear about those and successful students. So thank you all for your time. And
thank you. Don't feel bad for me. Recovery is a beautiful thing. Love y'all.
Don't feel badly for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.